In this video, I'm going to share with you how to paint this lovely mountain scene inspired by the country of Peru. This is called Machu Picchu. Come with me, let's learn, explore, and get creative. Before we begin, welcome to Createful Art. I'm Ashley Krieger. If this is our first time meeting, I am a full-time traveling artist. I get inspired to paint everywhere I go and share this journey with you and how I paint on this channel. If you haven't already, hit the subscribe button and the bell next to it and let's start creating. Today we are traveling to Peru to get inspired. I chose to paint Machu Picchu because it is one of the most famous archaeological destinations in the world and in Peru. In this video, I'm sharing with you how to paint it. Let yourself relax, don't worry about using my exact colors and following every brushstroke. Let me guide you to let yourself be creative so you can make your very own Machu Picchu or mountain scene. You're just going to need a few simple supplies to get started. They're listed over here on the left and in the video's description. For the first step, we're going to sketch the scene onto our canvas or our painting surface. And you're going to want to use a watercolor pencil or your transfer paper. And then you can use the traceable or the reference photo to help you. Go ahead and pause the video while you do that, and then we can go on to the next step. In this step, we're going to paint the sky. With your 1/4 inch brush, use your white, yellow, and purple to paint the sky. Start with white around the peak of the mountain in the middle, and then add yellow to the white so you can get a nice soft yellow color. And then along the edges of the sky, we're going to add purple and mix it with yellow so it can get a gray color, and we're going to blend and soften the colors in the sky. And going over a certain area many times helps to blend the colors together. And fill in that corner, and then I am done with the sky for now. Now we're going to paint the mountains, and you can just add blue to your brush here. And we're going to start here on the right with the solid color on the bottom. And then as we come up, then we can start adding a little bit of yellow to that color. I'm just going to scrub in this color in the middle and then keep blending it by going over that area multiple times. So now I'm just going to take this color and go along the edges of the mountain. And then we bring that color down and we blend it with the lighter blue that we created in the middle of that mountain. Now let me show you how to create more mountains in front of it. The less defined the edge, the more hazy it's going to look. So I'm grabbing my blue and I'm going to fill in this area back here. And I'm going to start with my blue at the bottom again. I'm going to fill in the area that I know I want to have blue. And then once that's blue, then I'll just start shifting it to the color that I want and softening it as we go to the top. So I added a little bit of that light green to my brush, so that's the yellow with the combo of the green and some white. And I'm going along the edges of my mountain here. Now I'm pulling that color away from the edge here. Now I can start putting some additional colors in there. So I grabbed my black and now my blue, and I'm just making this choppy section right here. I'm just kind of playing around with brush strokes at this point. I'm just playing around with colors. And now we're just going to play around with this left side right here. We're going to make this dark purple. So add a little black to your brush and just add black right up against the edge of the left side. I want to emphasize that your mountains don't need to look exactly like mine. If you feel like you need to shift any of the colors, you can do so now, or we can do this in the last step. It just depends on what you want to do. If you're happy with your mountains, let's go on to the mountain Machu Picchu. Let's start with the shadow area on the peaks. I'm putting some purple on my brush, and then I'm going to put that down on this bigger peak on the left side. And now we can fill it in and shape it. So yours does not need to match mine exactly, but you can use the reference photo to help you. And I'm just going to make a halfway mark basically, and then carry it over a little bit right down to a point at the bottom. Now we can work on the shadow of the peak on the left. So we're going to edge it again on this left side, and then start here about the middle area, and then bring that color just down a little bit And again, let's not make this a perfect line going down. Now I just want to add a little bit of that purple on the left side here of the mountain. Just a few shapes right here. So I just made some blobs basically. So I'm going to add just a couple shapes, this V, sideways V shape. I'm just kind of looking at Machu Picchu, a picture of Machu Picchu to get some of these shapes, but I'm not copying them exactly for sure. So you don't have to copy mine exactly either. We just need to get in the idea that there's some jagged ridges in here. So I'm using the edge of my brush to get that. Kind of make some at an angle, take some of the color across. So I'm taking the purple along the edge. So I'm just going to pull this color down right here onto the right and see how it really made it stand out. I'm going to do this in a couple more areas, just trying to get a little bit more coverage because this mountain back here is going to be mostly dark purple. So I'm going to create a slightly lighter and grayer color here. So I'm going to take that light purple and go in between all of my cracks and crevices, those lines that I created. And anytime I go over too many of those, I can just add them right back on top. It's no big deal. So now we're going to paint the hillside and the city ruins. So start with your yellow paint and your 1/2-inch brush, and we're going to add the color on the right side of the hill with broken up lines and random chunks of color. So I'll use the edge of my brush just to get some nice sideways lines. I can also grab my lime green here and get in some of that color. And the reason for these shapes is because basically as we go down this mountain, there's all these like walls and buildings that were placed here. And there's even a terrace and some canals that were built. From a distance, you can't see any of these details. You can just kind of understand that there are a lot of shapes going on, and these shapes make it look like there was an old city here. Now I'm going to grab my dark green and start putting some of that color in between those shapes. Again, still making these lines and shapes and chunks of shapes. And you can be very detailed in particular and look at a hillside of the Machu Picchu hill and try to get them to look exactly like it looks, or you can be more impressionistic like I'm being in this painting and just getting the idea of it. Then let's clean off our brush after that's done, and we're going to follow this area on the right side of the peak back here, just right up against the purple, and then fill in that area that we haven't filled in of this peak. Now I'm going to put that color in my area over here on the right. So just adding in some lines and some shapes. Now I'm going to follow this trail down here at the bottom with some of the tan color and some of the lines throughout the city. So now let's use our brush and our tan color to follow some of these other lines and create some other chunky sections in this painting. Now we're going to add the purple, which is the shadow areas of the buildings and sections of this. So I'm adding in more of that purple. So notice how when I add in some of these lines and stuff, it starts taking shape. And down here in this right corner of this mountain, there's a dark section. Now wipe your brush off, and we're going to add magenta to it and create these diagonal shapes down here at the very bottom next to our trail here. Okay, so here we're going to add some magenta into this section on the right. So whenever we add a color in one section of our painting, we're going to add just at least a little bit into another section of our painting, and that's what creates harmony. So I'm adding the gray in right now because I want the other colors to stand out more. So here we're going to make this other gray with the blue and a little bit of the green and a little bit of the black. We're going to add that throughout it. So I focused a little bit on the right top side with that other gray, and now I'm just going to focus on the right side of this mountain as I come down. Now I'm going to add another dull color, my brown. So I'm going to follow just down here on the bottom and create some curved lines, because this is what I see when I'm looking at a picture of Machu Picchu, so that they have some curved lines down here. And then I'm going to put this brown color in several spots on the right side. So now we're going to add some green in here. I'm just going to add a little bit more definition over this lime green. So some parts of the mountain had more green than other parts. And so that's what I'm putting in right now, is this area of a lot of green. So I just added lime green between those magenta vertical lines down there. Now with my tan color, I'm going to be a little bit more specific and detailed. So now I'm creating patterns with my shapes. So here with the purple, I'm going to create a pattern here with similar shapes. And notice how I got smaller with my lines as I went into the distance there and curved it a little bit. And then I'm going to just add in a little bit of black to the buildings. So again, in similar spots, and get smaller as we go to the distance. So there's a lot of overlapping colors and overlapping shapes. And that's what I'm trying to show in this. So I'm going to just make this section right here black so that I can go over that section and have the shadow area. And then this right through here, I'm going to create some lines. So again, some more patterns as I come back here towards this mountain, and this is the more shadowed area. Right, so now let's add in some brown shapes. I'm just going to follow along this tan line and then pull those shapes across into the green. So I'm going to keep bringing this brown color all the way down to the path. I'm going to add some green right here in the bottom corner. I'm copying where some of these lines are that I see in my reference photo, and you can use my reference photo to help you out. But I'm not copying each shape exactly from what I see. I'm just getting the general idea. And that's just the style, which is more impressionistic versus realistic. So I'm just adding different lines and patterns throughout these buildings on the left with different colors. So I'm just going to kind of bring this color down a little bit here, and then I'm going to grab my tan and fill in this area on the mountain so that it's kind of the same color as the peak, and then add some purple to my brush and bring that purple down so that it kind of blends in or feels like it belongs in this painting. Now I'm going to put some shadow down here, and I'm going to go in a vertical direction, and it'll create this look like there's shadow and some more detail in these buildings. And the more details I add, the more that it's going to start looking like these buildings. So it's going to start looking more realistic. And you can decide how realistic you want to get. So you could just fill in the rest of this painting, with a few colors and be done. Or you can keep adding in details and layers of different colors. So I'm going to section off the building part. So I'm going to take some brown here, and I'm going to go right up against the buildings. I'm not going to create a smooth line, but notice how I create the line, and then because it's there, it starts making it look like these buildings are further away. And this trail is closer. We're almost getting to the point where we've covered our entire canvas. So that'll be nice when we get to that point. Because then after that, it's just about adjusting things. So now I'm filling in on the left side these buildings that are closest to us, because this is the shadow of those buildings. Now in real life, if I'm looking at a picture of this, they are not purple shadows, but we're playing with color here. And then the purple right underneath the brown, I'm creating some very choppy brush strokes. So now you have this shadow area. Now I'm going to put some blue back here just to make some of this color that's in the mountains back there brings in some harmony here. Okay, so that's what I'm doing here. I do change how much blue I add in on the right side. In the last steps, I add in other colors over the top. So you don't need to follow every little thing that I add in exactly, because we're to the last step. But before we can go on to that step, let's cover our entire canvas. So right under this purple, I've just taken that color down, and now I'm going to add blue under there. Get the tan down here, and then we can adjust things later on. Just filling in all the way done. Okay, so now we have our entire canvas full of colors. Now we're going to put in our finishing touches, and that includes our personal preferences. So now you can overlap your colors and add them as you wish. So what are your favorite colors? You could add more of those. You can cover any colors you don't like. I added a pop of red in just a few places. And if you want to look at a picture of Machu Picchu to copy the details more closely or to make this painting more realistic, go ahead. This is your painting and you can paint it however you please. I want this painting to be less realistic as far as colors go and to just give you the idea of the shapes and patterns in the scene looking over the old city. So I'm leaving out a lot of detail and I'm keeping it an impressionistic painting. So no two paintings are going to be the exact same. We're not going to be able to match perfectly. I can't even match this painting again perfectly. Our preferences, how much detail to keep, the colors we use, our unique brush strokes, and our skill levels will make our paintings look different. And that's actually a good thing. I want you to feel confident when you come out with something different than what mine looks like. Also, if you have any questions about this tutorial or on color, let me know in the comments. As soon as you are happy with your painting, you can wrap it up and be done. Thank you so much for joining me today. I hope you learned a lot and I hope you had a great time relaxing and playing. Every painting that you create helps you become a better artist and gets you closer to becoming the artist that you want to be. Don't give up and you will find the success that you are looking for. I have more art lessons that can help you. You can go ahead and find those at createfulart.com. You can also become or continue to be a member. I am so excited to take you to the next destination. And while we go there, we're going to learn more about art and we're going to practice what we learn in the tutorials. Thanks again for joining me and I'll see you in my next tutorial.